Hello, everyone. This is Tom Fox, and I'd like to welcome you to the Daily Compliance News. The Daily Compliance News is an offering of the Compliance Podcast Network. November 23, 2018. Our first story is the continued bad news coming out about Goldman Sachs and the 1MDB scandal. First of all, it was sued in a massive bribery suit bought by the Abu Dhabi Wealth Fund for alleged bribes paid to get that fund to become involved in the 1MDB scandal. Second is the cost of the scandal to Goldman Sachs in Malaysia, as the business has dropped off to literally nothing. And then finally, it turns out that the chairman, Lloyd Blankfein, had actually met with J.Lo individually and personally, separate and apart from the prime minister. It's going to be a long, cold winter for Goldman Sachs. Next, in an article in the Washington Post, it reports that the Pentagon has its first full financial audit, and it found bureaucratic noncompliance, but no fraud. It certainly received a failing grade. Only a handful of the Pentagon's numerous agencies received a passing grade, and the auditor's report mainly drew attention to the sheer scale of the U.S. military's massive bureaucracy. Congressional defense spending watchdogs were unsurprised by the department's compliance issues, noting that the organization's first full evaluation would expect some irregularities. The only disappointment seemed to be that there were not more found. Next, in what can only be said was a happy Thanksgiving report to the employees of Facebook. It admitted most of the allegations in the New York Times report were true when it dropped bad news on Wednesday evening and took responsibility for hiring a Washington-based lobbying firm to finance public affairs that pushed negative stories out about Facebook critics. It turned out that the company was hired at the direction of Facebook's communication and policy chief, who's now leaving the company to pursue other opportunities, but this was allegedly before the memo was released. It also turned out that information from this Oppo research firm was put in memos that made their way all the way up to Sheryl Sandberg, the COO of the company. Once again, there were calls for continued or more oversight of Facebook going forward, and this certainly does not help Facebook's case. And finally, ending today's Compliance Daily News on an upbeat note, Standard Chartered will end its compliance monitor in the New York branch, which is put in place following the settlements of sanctions and money laundering. Standard Chartered will be required to keep an independent consulting to work on existing compliance matters, but it would be retaining a firm to serve as its going forward. The branch has made significant progress in remediation and enhancements of its money laundering program, and the bank demonstrated a commitment to complying with both state and federal anti-money laundering laws, according to the New York State Department of Financial Services. This was certainly good news for Standard Chartered, which was excoriated for its past conduct. And I hope you will check back every day as I go through some of the top stories. Once again, if this is a series that you enjoy or like or you find useful, I hope you will let me know as I consider whether I will move this forward into 2019. Please give me an email at tfox@tfoxlaw.com, or you can leave a comment on any of the sites where I list this podcast. Thanks again, and I hope you'll join me tomorrow for the Daily Compliance News.